Have you ever wondered how one of the smallest cities in Los Angeles became one of the most influential in the world? West Hollywood, or WeHo, as it's affectionately known, is just under 2 square miles. But within that tiny footprint lies a history filled with rebellion, reinvention, and resilience. From silent film stars to underground speakeasies, from rock legends to pride parades, WeHo has always been a magnet for those living loud, proud, and ahead of their time. In this video, we're diving into the untold story of how a patch of land between Hollywood and Beverly Hills became a cultural powerhouse, and why West Hollywood's past is just as bold as its present. Long before it became a global hub of culture and nightlife, West Hollywood was nothing more than wide-open ranchland, dusty, undeveloped, and largely forgotten. In the 1800s, the area was part of the vast Rancho La Brea, owned by Mexican land grantees during California's early days. There were no nightclubs, no rainbow crosswalks, just open fields, cattle, and quiet. But everything began to change in the late 19th century, when the Pacific Electric Railway, known as the Red Car Line, extended its route through the area. The rail line connected downtown Los Angeles with the beaches of Santa Monica, and one of its key stops was at a sleepy little junction called Sherman, named after Moses Sherman, the railway magnate who developed it. That small rail hub would eventually evolve into what we now call West Hollywood. Sherman was built for workers. It had shops, housing, and train maintenance yards, nothing glamorous, but all essential. What made it special was location. Sitting just outside the jurisdiction of both Los Angeles and Beverly Hills, Sherman, and later West Hollywood, existed in a kind of legal gray zone. And as we'd see over the coming decades, that little detail would shape everything. By the early 20th century, land developers started to take notice of Sherman's potential. It had access, space, and more importantly, freedom from strict city regulations. That opened the door for new businesses, new residents, and eventually, new kinds of lifestyles that weren't always accepted elsewhere in LA. What began as ranchland and railroad tracks was about to transform into something completely unexpected, a place built by outsiders. For outsiders, destined to become a cultural icon. By the 1920s, Sherman was slowly shedding its quiet railroad identity and gaining a new one. Rebellious nightlife capital. As Prohibition swept the nation, banning alcohol from coast to coast, Los Angeles scrambled to shut down bars and control its growing population. But Sherman, sitting just outside LA city limits, wasn't bound by the same rules. That legal loophole turned it into a hotbed for underground activity. Speakeasies, gambling halls, and unlicensed bars began to pop up across the strip. Bootleggers ran liquor through the area, and organized crime quietly made itself at home behind velvet curtains and polished bars. What was once a working-class train town had become a place where deals were whispered in back rooms, and laws were more like suggestions. At the same time, Hollywood was exploding. Just a few miles away, the studios were churning out stars, scandals, and money. Celebrities needed somewhere to let loose discreetly. So, they came to Sherman. Places like the Ciro's nightclub, Cafe Trocadero, and later, Whiskey A Go-Go became legendary for hosting wild parties, A-list regulars, and performances that defined entire eras of entertainment. The Strip, now known as the Sunset Strip, became a world of its own, part outlaw, part glamour, all freedom. This was a place where people could drink, dance, and exist outside the spotlight's rules. That spirit never left. In many ways, West Hollywood's outlaw roots are what gave it its edge. It was built on resistance to restriction, to conformity, and to silence. And it was only just getting started. But wait for the next chapter, because it will define what this neighborhood is today. By the 1960s and 70s, West Hollywood had fully embraced its identity as a place apart a city within a city where the rules were looser, the nights louder, and the people freer. But for the LGBTQ+ community, it became something much more than that. It became a refuge. At a time when being openly gay could cost you your job, your home, or your safety, West Hollywood offered rare space to exist without fear. Gay bars began to appear quietly at first, often behind unmarked doors or disguised as straight establishments, but they grew quickly. By the 1980s, WeHo had the highest concentration of LGBTQ+ bars, businesses, and residents in the entire country. It wasn't just nightlife, it was identity. In a world that often demanded invisibility, West Hollywood became a stage for visibility. Drag queens, activists, artists, and everyday people made their homes here, turning the city into a canvas of self-expression and political defiance. The rise of the AIDS crisis in the 80s turned West Hollywood from party zone into a battleground for survival. But even in the darkest moments, the community fought back, organizing, fundraising, marching, and demanding dignity. WeHo wasn't just safe anymore, it was strong. In 1984, the city officially incorporated, and from day one, West Hollywood made history as one of the first municipalities in America to be governed by a majority LGBTQ+ city council. That was no accident. It was the natural result of decades of people carving out space where no one else would give it. West Hollywood didn't just accept the LGBTQ+ community, it became defined by it. A place born in rebellion, reborn in pride. By the early 1980s, West Hollywood had grown far beyond its roots, from a railroad outpost to a nightlife capital and a stronghold for the LGBTQ+ community. But there was still one major problem. It wasn't a real city. Officially, it remained an unincorporated part of Los Angeles County, meaning it had no mayor, no city council, and no real voice in its own future. For many residents, especially renters, seniors, and members of marginalized communities, this lack of autonomy was more than symbolic. They feared that without control, outside developers and politicians would erase what made West Hollywood unique. So they organized. In 1984, after a highly emotional and political campaign, West Hollywood officially voted to incorporate as an independent city. This wasn't just a bureaucratic move, it was a declaration of identity. From day one, WeHo defined itself as progressive, inclusive, and unapologetically bold. It passed some of the strongest rent control laws in California. It prioritized LGBTQ+ rights in government policy, and it sent a clear message. This was a city by the people, for the people who had fought to build it. Incorporation gave West Hollywood the power to preserve its culture while shaping its own future. That meant protecting historic spaces, supporting minority-owned businesses, and championing public health and safety in ways other cities weren't willing to do. Overnight, WeHo went from being overlooked to being a model, showing what happens when a community refuses to let outsiders define its fate. It wasn't just about drawing lines on a map, it was about claiming power. And from that moment on, West Hollywood wasn't just a place you could live, it was a place you could belong. Today, West Hollywood is one of the most recognizable and influential small cities in the world. It's a cultural powerhouse, the beating heart of LGBTQ+ pride, fashion, nightlife, and progressive politics in Southern California. But it's also something more subtle, a community constantly fighting to hold on to its authentic identity in a world that keeps trying to reshape it. The rainbow flags are now permanent, the pride celebrations world famous, and the local policies among the most inclusive anywhere. On the surface, WeHo seems unstoppable, a shining example of what happens when a city builds itself around acceptance, diversity, and voice. It's also home to some of the most iconic streets in America. Sunset Boulevard, Melrose Avenue, Santa Monica Boulevard, names that ring out far beyond LA. But with fame and visibility comes pressure. Skyrocketing rents, luxury development, and growing tourism have begun to push out some of the very artists, activists, and longtime residents who gave the city its soul. Historic venues close. Beloved spaces are replaced by chains. And with each high-rise, the question grows louder. Can West Hollywood stay West Hollywood? Still, the spirit remains. You can feel it in the drag shows that still sell out every night, in the murals that shout love and resistance, in the people trans, queer, immigrant, activist, artist who still find something in WeHo they can't find anywhere else. A place that welcomes the bold, the different, and the loud. West Hollywood may be evolving, but its foundation hasn't changed. It's still a city built on defiance, celebration, and unapologetic identity, and it's not done writing its story. From dusty farmland to outlaw haven, from safe space to global symbol, WeHo's history is more than just nightlife and rainbow flags. It's a story of community, resistance, and reinvention. Now we want to hear from you. What do you think about West Hollywood? Did anything surprise you? Do you have your own memories or thoughts about this iconic neighborhood? If you enjoyed this video, a like really helps us reach more people. And if you want more nostalgic deep dives like this, drop a comment below and let us know. Your voice is what keeps these stories alive.